The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
The Paranormal View. The Paranormal View. The Paranormal View. Time now for the Paranormal View. The Paranormal View on the Para-X Radio Network. The Paranormal View.
Welcome, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the Para-X Radio Network. Want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Chat room is just really full. I'm glad to see that. And I want to thank everyone that's listening from around the world, no matter where you're at. And if you're not over here with us in the chat room, you can come on over, para-x.com, and join in the chat. You will be able to interact with us by private chatting with Jeffrey, Kat, or myself with questions for our guest. And tonight we have with us Jeffrey Gould.
That'll be me. Hello, hello.
And Kat Cloco.
Good evening, everyone.
And we also have a great guest, which I'm going to let Jeffrey introduce here in just a second.
Oh, is that the second, or you got something else?
No, I had to clear my throat.
Oh, okay. I was like, so that's a really weird segue there.
I'll be coughing a little bit every now and then. So, but I want to definitely welcome everybody back over to the old new chat room, and that everything's fixed. So tonight should be really smooth sailing. And we got a terrific show lined up. And I think what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and let Jeffrey introduce our guest.
Well, our guest is author Craig Campobasso, who is a Hollywood casting director. Fresh out of high school, California native, found himself working behind the scenes for 4 years on Frank Herbert's Dune. The father and daughter producing team.
What happened?
David Lynch were Craig's mentors. Sorry, did somebody step up?
Yeah, you faded out there.
Oh, bloody hell. That's not good at all. Where did I fade out?
I have no idea.
At Rafaela and Dino De
Laurentiis. Okay. It was not like I was putting you to sleep and you just sounded like it. Well, as I say, Rafael and Dino De Laurentiis and director David Lynch were Craig's mentors into the business of filmmaking. Rafaela De Laurentiis later hired Craig on the popular Christmas movie Prancer, starring Sam Elliott as a casting director, after he apprenticed as a casting associate on Steven Spielberg's TV series Amazing Stories. Craig has been casting for more than 2 decades, so eventually he should get to me. And he was rightfully nominated for an Emmy for casting the David E. Kelley TV series Picket Fences. And some of his other credits include, but are not limited to, so one of my favorite films, Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, a wonderfully underrated film. Also, The Godson, Mel Brooks' Screwloosed, Red Line, Tremors 3, and most recently, Hell and Mr. Fudge. Gotta love that title. And The Perfect Host, which stars David Hyde Pierce. And currently, Craig is casting Furious Angel, a drama directed by Lara Croft. Wait, that can't be right.
Jan de Bont.
Jan de Bont, okay. So you're also casting, you did cast Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. Sometimes copy and paste doesn't work too well. Speed 1 and 2, and Twister director Jan de Bont's 02. That may be where I messed up. A sci-fi film directed by Howling and Gremlins director Joe Dante, who I had lunch with a couple of times. Star Bright, a fantasy film starring James Earl Jones, so you know they'll have the bass turn really down. And special effects family movie Cyber Planet and The Kiss, a psychological horror suspense film directed by Dror Sorev. Good luck with that on that driver's license. Based on the Anton Chekhov short story, unless I found the wrong title on IMDb. That wasn't the kiss with the little slug inside the person.
Yeah, no, that's the wrong kiss. It's written and directed by Remy Vaughn.
Okay. Oh, thanks, IMDb. I love you so much. As well as being an acting coach in the Los Angeles area, Craig's other passion is to write stories that provoke the reader to think and to raise their consciousness and to expand their minds into creation while remaining entertainment in the Hollywood tradition. And the autobiography of an extraterrestrial saga, I Am Tyron, is his first book in the trilogy. And I want to make it clear to our listeners that I read his book. I highly recommend it. The link to buy it will be on the report page for tonight's show, and it's certainly on my webpage all over the place. So welcome, Craig Campobasso. Hooray!
Hey, thanks so much, you guys. That was terrific. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. So how is everybody?
That's my audition tape.
Oh, wait. That's your audition tape.
Hey, everybody here is doing good. Been a long week, hectic, but I'm ready for tonight and rest tomorrow.
Well, you know what we used to say, I worked on the original Dune for 4 years, so when somebody would say, how you doing? We'd go, Dune fine.
Dune fine.
I actually notified Alicia Witt about tonight, but she's in New York performing.
Oh, my God. She was Alia as a little girl, and... I met her once when I think I was at the SAG Awards and for our show Picket Fences, and she was at the Sybil table. And all I did is I just walked over to her and I just whispered in her ear, "For he is the Quizette Habarak." And
actually,
she just turned around and she was like, "What?" So I love her. I think she's such a fantastic, gifted actress.
Oh, yeah. What always sticks in my mind is the beginning of the line where she goes, "And how can this be?"
I know. They toyed around with making her voice a woman's voice as well. In the film, to give it a little creepier tone, but I don't know. In the end, it sounded like they just sort of did a little modulation on Alicia's voice.
And I do want to let everybody know that you wonder, why do we have a casting director on our show? That's not paranormal. Well, yes, it is. He has lots and lots of paranormal experiences, which he will be talking about. But we also thought it would be pretty interesting if you learned a little bit about a casting director. But before we even do that, I want Craig to tell us all about how he got into being a casting director and let everybody know what all's going on with that.
Sure. I've been in the entertainment business since I was 15. I started off as an actor doing commercials and bit parts and film and television, and then I worked at a production company that made teasers and trailers for films. And then I landed the job on Dune for 4 years, and when Dune was finished, Rafaela De Laurentiis, who produced it, she said, "Well, what department did you like the best?" And I said, "I like casting." So on her next film, Taipan, she put me on it as a casting assistant. And then halfway through that film, I got the job offer to go to Spielberg's Amazing Story. So I went over there for a season and a half until the show finished. And then went back to the De Laurentises and started casting. So that's well over 2 decades, we'll just say. Not to overdate myself, but anyway. And everybody doesn't really have an idea what a casting director does, but really what we are is we're sort of a liaison between the production company, managers and agents and talent. We're the creative team that brings in all the actors for the price ranges and the things, for each film, trying to, sitting down with the director in the beginning of a film to see what their vision and their idea of the film, the tone of the show, etc. And and then when we get down to the for the lead characters is starting to make offers to name talent, but also trying to go to name talent that haven't played those roles before. So it'll be more intriguing and hopefully give them a little more impetus to say yes. So
playing against type sometimes.
Absolutely. So, as you know, like, for instance, Jim Carrey gets paid a fortune to do comedies, but, if you had something really unique and interesting with a very good director, that might be drama, something, as far away from the comedy as possible, he'd be more likely to say yes. And even if it was on a smaller budget, it wouldn't have to pay such a giant price tag. But, all actors in that area, they always get box office bonuses and points and all that stuff in the film as well.
So pretty much when you're going in to do a film, they have an idea of who they would kind of like to put in the lead roles and secondary lead and stuff like that ahead of time.
They do, and then after I read it, I also do up a list, and then we sort of combine our lists, and then we go over the list and we start targeting. This is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and we go from there. So, and once you actually start hooking 1 or 2 in, the rest, it's easier for the rest to follow because
you just say, we got so-and-so on the film, and then they'd say, oh, I want to be on it.
Yeah, I want to work with them, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So.
Well, how far down on the list was my name?
Well,
Oh, that's.
It was number 2 on the list, Henry.
That's kind of like one of the questions I had, though, is how rare is it for someone who's never acted to be able to come in and maybe be a co-star or something like that on a movie?
Well, it depends on the whole package. It depends on what the part is. How well. Do they look like the part, or is their acting just outstanding? There's certain things that people just have it in them. I was doing an HBO movie many years ago. It was right before Dakota Fanning did I Am Sam, and she came in and she read for me, and of course, I'm just looking at her after the reading, and I'm saying, wow, she is such an evolved soul. There is such a great old soul inside that little girl's body. And of course, she looked at me, and she said, in a perfect tone, and knew how to say my name, well, do I have the part, Mr. Campobasso? And I said, well, we still have to wait and see, after we talk with the director and everybody else, but of course she didn't get the part, and the only reason she didn't get the part was because the parents we ended up choosing didn't look like her. So, one never knows, but talent is talent, and you recognize it. And back then on Prancer, I had discovered Ariana Richards, who later starred in Jurassic Park. It's like when she did her initial reading for Prancer, she actually had me in tears. And I'm like, if somebody can move me to tears, she's a fantastic actress. She's about 29 now. If you can believe that. Doesn't that make you all feel old?
Man,
I was old before that.
Want to feel older? I remember seeing Prancer when I was in elementary school when it came out.
Yeah, I know. It's
Wasn't
such
it
a great
filmed in
movie, wasn't
Michigan?
it?
Yes. It was filmed in Michigan, wasn't it? Or a part of it? Somewhere.
What was that?
It was filmed. Where was it filmed in? I can't remember. Three Oaks, Michigan. Yes.
It was filmed, yeah.
I lived not too far from Three Oaks, so whenever we drove through there, it said "Home of Prancer," and it's like,
Home
yes,
of Prancer. Oh my God, that's right. Yeah, and if we, on that film, which was really interesting, is we couldn't find a lead man to say yes, or one that the studio would agree to. and several guys had passed. And our last hope was Sam Elliott. And if Sam Elliott had said no, the film wouldn't have been made, because if we didn't start shooting right at the beginning of the year, all of the reindeer's antlers would have fallen off. So I always attribute that movie actually getting made because Sam Elliott said yes, thank God. And he was so wonderful in that scene with Rebecca Harrell where they were crying at the end. You know, he had such, because he always plays the dude, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So for him to go to that great emotional place. But I also knew at the time that him and Catherine Ross's daughter, I think, was about 9. So I think that was also a big thing. You know, he wanted to probably make something that his daughter could see.
But do you think that if Hollywood really wanted to make it, that they wouldn't care if the antlers fall off? They'd just have artificial antlers made and stuck on?
Well, at that time, that was the word. So I would say today with the CGI, there's no problem. But you have to remember back then, and even back when Dune was being made,
back when
they couldn't figure out how to make the blue within the blue eyes. That was very, very hard to do. As a matter of fact, Rafaela, myself, and Val Kilmer, when he was a very young actor, he at one point was one of the first choices to play Paul Maudib before Kyle MacLachlan was found. And we all went to this sort of mad scientist guy up in the Topanga Canyon, I believe, and he poured these molds into our eyes to make, these contact lenses to do the blue within the blue, and we were all the guinea pigs.
Oh.
And but what they found out is that they couldn't do that because then the eyes couldn't breathe.
Wow.
So so it was quite interesting, But you have to remember, back then the technology today, you can just whatever you can imagine they can do.
Well, they had already started. They had already perfected, or certainly experimented with rotoscoping as far back as when they were first making movies. So I'm surprised they didn't go with the concept of even optical rotoscoping back then. Well,
the other thing that it could have been what the price was.
Yeah.
So you have to remember a lot of these things, they have a set budget. And anything that goes over the budget, they just can't do. So they just don't put in, and they try and chop and chop and chop and chop. So, unless you're just working on a big, giant movie that has tons of money. So.
Well, now, once you get a cast, do you ever get to go on the set to watch the filming?
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
over the years, yeah.
Do you kind of stay with the movie that you helped put together the whole way through until it's done, or?
Well, I do, of course, all the way through filming in case somebody falls out or we have to replace an actor, that kind of thing. But if we're shooting locally or whatever, I'd love to go and visit the set and just sort of. Give everybody some encouragement and, all of that. Sometimes I've even brought in some family members to be extras. One time my mother and godmother and father, they all wanted to be extras. So I was doing a film called The Godson with Rodney Dangerfield and Dom DeLuise. And so they came for about a week and were extras on that film, which was actually kind of cool because when I see the film, I can see them in it. So
yeah, you'd know who they were. Yeah,
it'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, since my mother passed and my godmother passed, so
wow. So now it's like a whole movie.
Yeah.
So now.
It's a very expensive home movie.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't out of his pocket. Did you talk to the AD to make sure that they were visibly placed, so they didn't end up getting buried, which can happen?
No, the directors always knew that they were my family, so they always tried to feature them, more towards the front, So, but I can see them in that, and I think I brought them on a couple other features as well. So, because they just got a kick out of it, just being extras. So.
Well, now,
or background performers, as we like to call them.
Yeah.
Well, now, do you work with just one studio, or is it the directors that you work with?
No, I'm an independent casting director, so I go from, I just go from feature to feature with different production companies.
And they come to you to get the casting, or
Yeah,
do you
they
have to
call
go seek
me,
them?
or a lot of directors I work with over and over again. The same with producers, that kind of thing. Sure.
Oh, that's pretty interesting then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have worked on quite a few movies. You've got some right now that's just kind of like in pre-production. I noticed that.
Right. Yeah, they're all in the star casting phases.
The star casting.
Yeah.
Not
so
the little
we get
people
the stars
that's-
and the movie goes.
Yeah, not the little people behind the scenes, kind of, or background, you might say, but the stars now.
But the stars, yeah. On every feature, you always have to have the stars to satiate the financiers, the studios, all of that. And then once the stars are set, and then the film goes into production, and then that's when I start casting all the other roles as well. So I cast everybody that speaks, from everybody who's the lead in the film to anybody who even says one word.
Ah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's,
Now, there are the rare occasions that you have day players who don't actually have a line per se, but they're important enough or interact with the leads enough that they're actually a day player, correct? At least I had that on.
Well, that's true, and it depends on the director and what they want, especially today with green screen, and I've done a lot of green screen movies. It's a lot harder because people are reacting to things that aren't there. So the auditioning process, like especially on Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, was absolutely really, really difficult because, people would have to
99% of it,
react
yeah.
to these giant machines and all of this, and people just couldn't get it. So,
Yeah, I've seen the behind the scenes stuff, and they'll just have a little bit of foliage. They're walking around on the ground, and everything
That's
else is just green.
everything's green. Everything's green. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was doing a period piece from a book. The film didn't go, but it was all English, like 1600s, and they were going to shoot it all here in Hollywood. But it was the whole movie was going to be green screen, and they showed me how they were going to insert all of the 16th century, the inside of the houses, the outside, and the whole thing. It was absolutely awesome, and you couldn't tell.
couldn't tell
Oh,
the
I know.
difference.
If you
Wow.
look at Craig, if you look at my scene when I was doing some background on Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton's film, you wouldn't realize that it was me and like 12 other people just standing in a line with everything green screen. And our Alice comes in, she does her little jig and goes out. And in the film, there are like hundreds of people going way into the background with a huge mansion and estate and hedges and everything. And they had told us that it was going to spread out and there were going to be other people. But I was like, wow, that's a little more than they were leaving out.
Well, it is. It's like when you watch the later Star Wars movies in the stadium things, and you see, the hundreds of thousands of people. That's all CGI people. It's great. I mean, it cuts down the cost, considerably.
Wow.
Although they also made a model of the stadium, and where the people are jumping up and down, they're actually like colored Q-tips.
College Q-tips.
Colored. Like they have different heads, and they with marker, and they just move them up and down, so that the moment you see them, you're like, oh, there are people over there, but you're watching the action elsewhere.
Huh.
Right. Yeah, and it's blurry, and it's so far in the background. You
can't tell anyway.
You can't tell anyway.
Well, now once they get done filming the movie or making the movie, generally how long is it before it's actually released for people to see?
It usually takes about a year. Is usually the post-production, unless they need to get it out a lot quicker. So, but it's about a year. Yeah.
And sometimes it's it, like you said, it can be quick. In fact, one of the fastest turnaround movies was Young Adult that I saw, and I didn't realize that Diablo Cody wrote it, and they just pummeled it through within a matter of months, and it came out the following spring, and it was a little less than a year from inception.
Right, exactly. It depends on how quickly they move, and and if it's studio generated and they want a deadline, then everybody cracks the whip, and you just work double time. That's all.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been called to cast movies where they said, you know what, we just got our money. We're supposed to start shooting in 2 weeks. Can you cast our film in 2 weeks? And I'm like, okay, let's go, And it's like literally working morning, noon, and night. It can get done.
See, that's where you call me, and I call in all my reliable people, and there you go.
Yeah. I know.
So how many people?
I know. See, Jeffrey, why weren't you there the last time?
I tell you, well, you just forgot to. You got my number. And you got it here.
I do. You're coming in. Don't you worry.
So, how many people do you have that works with you?
Well, myself and an assistant, and if it's a bigger picture, then I have also an associate. So I had a casting partner for 10 years, but she's since retired. I think she cast for, I think about 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now what we need to do is find something for the whole family or the crew of Para X.
Well, the thing is that what's kind of cool is, movies are starting to crop up. Even like, I can't wait to see Paranorman.
Paranorman?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like it'd be very, very funny, or very like, okay, I spent money to see this.
There's that, and then of course, Paranormal Activity, and
Oh, those are just hilarious. I love those.
Those kinds of things, but. But there'll be. But there were some other films I can't remember. There was that one with Mila Jovovich, and I can't remember what it was called. But
remember what happens in it?
I just
you got Fifth Element. You got.
It was kind of like.
Ultraviolet.
Well, there was way back when, if you remember, there was The Entity with Barbara Hershey.
Oh man, yeah,
that was like a long time ago. That's when I was a kid. I remember seeing that one in the theater and just being terrified. But yeah, these things come in waves. Whatever does well. Next we'll be having the what do they call them? The superhero team with all the Superman, the other ones.
Oh, the Justice
the Avengers
League?
did well. What were they called? The Justice League.
Yeah.
Justice League. Yeah. That will not be far off now, I guarantee you.
No, it won't.
I have seen a lot of postings of little companies looking for found footage scripts. And those either really work or they really don't. Although I really liked Chronicle.
Yeah.
But I love superpower movies, so.
Right.
Well, I tell you what we're going to do. Before we jump on over into talking about all your paranormal exploits, you might say, I think we're going to go ahead and do our first break. And I want to remind everybody that if you do have questions for Craig, private chat them to either Cat Cloco, Jeffrey Gould, or myself, and we'll get those right over to him. Jeff? No, Cat.
No.
I let Cat go first.
Oh, yeah, ladies go first.
Yeah, you get to go first.
Okay, so you are listening to the Paranormal View on Para X Radio with your hosts, Henry Foister, Jeffrey Gould, and myself, Kat Cloco. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the Para X Radio Network. And if you're listening from somewhere else around the world and you're not over here with us, come on over to para-x.com and join in the chat room with all these wonderful people. You'll be glad you did because they are just having a great time. Now, I want to welcome back Craig Campobasso and...
Sorry, don't mind me.
Oh, what'd you do? Have your mic turned off, did you? Huh?
No, I
You
just
fell off the stool?
kept waiting to hear how you were going to pronounce his name.
It was
You did pretty good there, Henry.
They always make fun because I can't ever pronounce anything right. But that's okay.
But you did. That was good.
You should have seen me trying last week, though. But anyway, I want to welcome everybody back. We're going to go ahead and start talking a little bit about some of your paranormal experiences that, and you've got quite a few of them. We only talked about a few of them, and I'm sure you have.
That's right.
You have a whole lot more.
I do.
What was the earliest one that you can remember that happened to you?
You know, the earliest one, I was a boy. I was maybe around 10 years old. I woke up and I saw an angel in its spirit body, which was milky white light that was really illuminated. And I didn't know at the time what it was. I had a great feeling, and then the first thing that I thought was maybe one of my sisters had passed away, and it was their spirit. And I remember running into their room, and I held a mirror under their noses to see if it fogged up. And I was like, oh, thank God they're alive. Then I went, oh, what if it was one of my parents? So I ran in. I did the same to my mom and to my dad, and they were fine. And then, but then I was like, oh, then as I've sort of remembered, but, I've from that time, I've always seen spirit of either loved ones or from the ethereal order, as I call it, in their spirit form throughout my life. And, either sometimes during the day or sometimes when I wake up and see them standing in my bedroom just smiling over me. But my mom sort of said, she told me from the time she was a child that her side of the family was always very psychic. She would see things. She told me when I moved out of my parents' house when I was 17, and already had 2 jobs and was, trying to work as an actor, and already had my own place and the whole thing. And she said she was so worried that, but her mother, she said it was around noon, and her mother just appeared to her and said, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. And then then her mother vanished. And she said from that moment on, she didn't worry anymore, which I just thought was pretty fantastic. So I guess it runs in the family, Well,
that's pretty interesting, but you've had experiences right on through your whole life too.
I have, and I'll start with the scariest one because it's the only scary one I ever had, and all the rest are, were positive and with purpose. But when I had moved out, I think I was going into my second place, and I decided to rent a house with several roommates. And we found a house in Burbank, and it was an older house. It wasn't like an old house, but went in. I was like, great. It has enough bedrooms. The living room's huge. The backyard is big. It had a place for my 2 dogs at the time, and so anyway, we all moved in, and nowadays, if I walk into a place, I feel like Chip Coffee walking into a place. I go, ooh, God, no, I'd never live here. I can feel the stuff. But back then, I didn't have that. But once I moved in, the eerie feeling started, and when I started going and cleaning through all the cupboards and cabinets and closets, there were coffee grounds spread all through the top, and I started getting this voodoo vibe. like somebody had put this stuff there to ward off some kind of evil. And I just, and my dogs would always be looking and, in the air and barking at stuff that wasn't there. Anyway, so one night I'm asleep. I wake up. I'm laying on my back. I look at the foot of the bed. There is an old African-American man with evil and hatred in his eyes, and he's holding a giant butcher knife. He is completely solid. I thought somebody had broken into the house, and I sort of sat up in bed. I tried to scream. When people say you can't scream, I could not scream. And he rushed over to me from the bottom of the bed to the side of the bed, and he shoved the knife in my heart.
Wow.
And then everything dissolved. And I can't even tell you what I felt. I mean, it was like, do you think I moved out of there right away? You bet I did.
Yeah.
Certainly to the couch.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't hear
So
too.
and I have no idea what that was unless it was just from the property or, you know what I mean? Or if it was, that place was possessed, or I have no idea, But I still don't know the significance of the coffee grounds, but I'm sure that's why somebody put them there.
So essentially, by cleaning them up, it was like taking the little amulet off the little trilogy of terror doll.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah,
maybe that was it.
Let them come back out.
But
I've heard of stories like that before. Like one family used to water their flowers with holy water. They didn't realize it was holy water, I guess. And when the plants all died, they had really bad energy in their house.
Well, it was either that or Triffids.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, you don't hear too many things like that, though, about seeing a spirit and it comes over and stabs you. I mean, that there.
But it was solid when I saw it. See, my experience when I've seen spirits, all the good spirits, is I can see them in color, but I can still see through them.
Right.
And sometimes they appear from their shoulders on up, or they appear in a full body apparition, but they're glowing with light. They're beautiful. But this one was a full-blown, solid apparition. He looked as real as you and I. So, I moved out of there. I couldn't move out of there fast enough.
Well, you'd think that when you seen somebody coming at you with a knife and they plunge it, and you're thinking, I'm going to be stabbed, I'm going to be killed. It's a wonder you didn't have a heart attack.
I know. And I still don't get it. That house has since been torn down, and they put up an apartment complex there. And I've always wondered every time I drive by that property,
if anybody's had anything happen.
Yeah, if that haunting is still occurring in that area. So, but that was pretty creepy.
Well, now,
but then I've had some very actually cool positive ones, and my favorite is, or the next two. Also, when I was young, in my like from 18, 19, 20, when I worked at the teaser trailer house, the owner owned a property in Palm Springs and also owned a property in Laguna Beach. And the house in Laguna Beach belonged to Rita Hayworth. It was her old house. So, and so all of us employees, if our boss wasn't staying at one of the houses on the weekend, we could go to his secretary and we can sign up to stay in the house, and he'd give us a house for the weekend. It was part of our perks, which was really cool because, I was always in Laguna or Palm Springs. It was great and had a beautiful house with a pool and the whole thing. But anyway, so, and of course I was sleeping in Rita Hayworth's bedroom, and the bathroom was sort of right behind it, and there was two very long double sink, like almost 3 times the size of a regular double sink. And it had a bathtub, and then it had a big shower. And my boss had dedicated another room, sort of like a sun room, that was all dedicated to Rita Hayworth and her honor, which I thought was great. And of course, then I loved Rita Hayworth, watching all her movies growing up. So anyway, so I go to take a shower. I'm standing there butt naked, and all of a sudden the water faucets go, and they turn on. I actually see both nozzles turn and the water goes on, and I'm like, did I just imagine that? So I walked over, I turned them off, and I went, okay, Rita, if that's you, do it again. And they both turned back on. And I'm like, okay, I'm standing here butt naked. Rita Hayworth's looking at me in the nude.
Oh, at least it was somebody you liked.
I know, but the thing is there wasn't a scary component attached to it. It was more of a friendly kind of thing. So, and of course, when I saw my boss the following week, I told him the experience, and he just smiled. He goes, "Oh, things like that happen in the house all the time,"
Nice.
And he says we just look over it, So, which I just thought was extremely fascinating, but. Then another time, I had gone to see this medium here in Los Angeles who was absolutely spectacular. She was referred to me by an actress who had starred on a TV series for many years, and when I started with her, she just started naming names of people on the other side. I mean, like. Things that nobody in a million years could pick up, and so the session just started out absolutely fantastic. And then at a certain point, and of course she didn't know what I did for a living, being a casting director or also teaching acting. And she said, Marilyn Monroe is here, and she says she goes to your acting classes. And I was like,
Okay.
And I was just like, that's exactly what I was. I was like, yeah, okay. And she said, no. She says she likes to sit in because she likes the way that you teach, which is from confidence building instead of tearing an actor down. And I went, well, that is the way I teach, and she just wants you to know that she likes that. So I just sort of got a kick out of it. I didn't know whether to believe it or not, but so one night I'm talking to the students about various acting techniques, and we're talking about physical comedy, and Marilyn Monroe and How to Marry a Millionaire came to mind, and I was telling the ladies, that to watch the movie and watch all of the business that she does throughout that movie is fantastic. And then the story came to mind, so I'm telling everybody about the story. And the door to the acting class opened by itself, right? And went, and just opened slowly, and everyone is staring. And I'm like, okay, wait, did that just happen? And I went and I closed the door. And I did the same thing that I said with Rita. I said, okay, so Marilyn, if that was you, open the door, and the door opened again. Everyone was just sitting there going, okay, this is wild. So, whether it was a coincidence or not, but it was pretty fun.
Wow.
It was pretty fun. Even to think that her spirit would be there,
Oh, yeah.
Because she was fantastic. Oh, my God. Well, both those ladies were.
Come on in, Marilyn.
They were phenomenal, really phenomenal.
Well, now,
So,
speaking of that, before you tell another one, and I don't mean tell one like a big fib or something. I mean before you tell another story.
Nice. Best backhanded compliment I think you've ever
Jeff has had some experiences on some of the sets with some different paranormal experiences.
Oh, good point.
And I was wondering, have you heard of any thing happening on some of the sets that you were affiliated with, or have you heard any of the actors? Yeah.
Yeah. I was doing, several years ago, I was doing a movie called Pizza with Bullets with Talia Shire. and we were at Raleigh Studios, and the person there actually took us around and gave us sort of a ghost tour and said, this is the set that where whatever happened, or this is the the soundstage where whatever happened to Baby Jane was filmed, and that they had a lot of paranormal activity. And then I remembered watching that show, and I forget what it's called, but Chris is his name, and he did it with the English lady who had gotten cancer. He's a blonde guy, Chris. I don't know. Anyway, they did a show in there, and there was a big giant orb that went through his body on that same soundstage. But when we were filming the movie, I had taken Jeffrey. You know who Dr. Frank Stranges is, who wrote Stranger at the Pentagon?
I know of him, yes.
You know of him, yes. So he was a friend of mine, and he was Italian, and he loved the movie. So I brought him for a couple of days to be an extra on the set of Pizza with Bullets, and we were shooting in a church. And anyway, somebody took a photograph of me, and in the photograph is a giant, we're not talking a small orb, we're talking a giant orb. And I just thought that was a little fascinating. So that's my one paranormal experience, there. But but there was no feeling attached to it during the time. So, yeah. So
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I have given giant orb pictures because I had several of them over the years. They've been in pictures with me, and very clear, and they're milky white with actually designs in them. And I'd given them to top psychics and other people in the field, and every single one of them said that they're angels.
Huh.
So that it's angel consciousness. So, which I thought was interesting. So.
Well, now has any of the actors ever come up and said anything happened to them on some of the sets?
I talk to actors about the paranormal and UFO stuff all the time, and I find if you bring it up first, they're happy to share all their experiences and all of that. But yes, they've told me stories that were mind-blowing of things that happened to them over the years,
Really?
And some of them would say, yes, I would go on a spaceship tomorrow, or, or they would tell, one lady who was very famous at the time had a major abduction thing that was going on with family members. And, just the stories were just amazing,
Well, they have that celebrity ghost stories, and I didn't realize that many celebrities that they have actually had that much paranormal experiences.
Well, I think almost everybody has sort of had at least one, don't you think? Everybody
a lot of
sort
times they might not recognize that it's a paranormal experience. They might say that was weird.
Yeah, that they just think that it's weird,
right.
Exactly. So, but there's a lot, and I think they have a new season coming up that I saw on television today, the celebrity ghost stories.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, and it's so funny. Somebody came to me many years ago with that idea, and I said, I don't think it would fly. I don't think celebrities will come out and talk about their ghost stories.
Really?
And boy, was I wrong. Now I think they should do like UFO, like people's UFO stories. I think that would be fascinating.
Oh, yeah. They got to be some of those also.
Oh, there's a million of those. People having experiences all the time. All the time.
Wow.
So.
Now, have you had an experience with a UFO?
Well, I myself have not seen one up close. I've seen lights in the sky. I've seen them moving around, that kind of thing. But I've met several people and have several close friends that have seen them. And some of them have seen them as, the giant triangular ones, or the sort of, the normal flying saucer, metallic looking ones. And a lot of people have said that they've seen giant cigar, ones, which I think are their transport ships, sort of cargo,
Right.
where they're taking stuff back and forth from, one ship to another, that kind of thing. But physically, no, I haven't. I wish I would love to see one. Have you?
Mm-hmm. No, I have not.
No.
No, I have seen the lights in the sky that couldn't be explained, but they were so
Yes,
far
me
away
too.
that you couldn't really see what it might have been. But
Right.
know,
And,
you know,
and
it was
ironically,
something.
that's something that always kind of gets under my skin is when people they talk of UFOs and then they immediately jump to, well, it's a craft or it isn't a craft. I'm like, it's not. It doesn't matter whether it's a craft or not. It's UFO simply means we don't know what it is, can't explain it right now.
Right.
That's right. That's
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've seen it, if you've seen a craft, then you've seen a craft. You haven't seen a UFO.
Exactly.
True.
Now,
I was going to say I was actually right across the street from Raleigh today over at Paramount at Cinegear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I loved it. And after I did that film, then I did one over at Paramount. And, it's interesting how all the studios have their own energy, They just all have a different energy to them.
when I've,
Especially those two being very old.
if you've
now,
worked,
you're aware of the ghosts that sort of commute back and forth between Hollywood Forever Cemetery and Paramount Studios?
No, never heard about that.
There are stories that people on both sides have seen ghosts pass through that wall that breaches both the sound stages and the back lot and Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And I have a friend who
Wow.
got a really good EVP in Hollywood Forever Cemetery near the graves of Ruta Valentino and Peter Lorre.
Wow.
Yeah, he left it on. He said hello. He put it down. He walked out, got his girlfriend, went back, picked up the recorder. As they were driving back, they heard something and they stopped the car. And you could hear him walk out. And in the complete empty mausoleum, you can just hear this one voice say, "I can't act."
Wow. Tortured till the end and beyond.
oh yeah,
Oh my God! Do you know that I just recently? I've gotten some good EVPs over the years of, family members and things like that. But I just got an extremely clear one of a woman speaking in a foreign language,
Whoa.
really?
and and I have no idea what she's saying. So I'm waiting for
Pressing 2 for English. Oh wait.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for my producers to get back from Con so I can play it for them because they speak all kinds of languages,
Wow.
so that they can decipher it for me.
I
So-
thought Con would be Con is still on right now.
No, Con is finished, but they're staying a little while longer because they've got a boat and they're just
They're having
hanging out
fun.
doing their work from the
Right.
boat.
Yeah.
I would too if I could.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, now,
that's
but-
pretty
but-
cool.
between you and Jeff, what is kind of like the I don't want to say spookiest, but might as well just put it like that, set that you've been around or worked on?
I don't think I've ever been on a spooky one that had a spooky vibe.
You've ever been in the Universal haunted sound stages?
I've been in almost every Universal soundstage because I worked there for many years, and
Because you
and
know
I
the one
lo-
that's the one that still has the Mask of the Red Death set has Lon Chaney's ghost allegedly running around in there.
Yeah, the one that was really fascinating was where they still have, the partial set of the original Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, that's what that's
Is
the
that the
Mask of the Red.
set?
Yeah, the Mask of the Red Death scene from Phantom of the Opera. Sorry.
Yeah. So I've been on that
specific.
soundstage. Yeah, but I've never had any paranormal experiences there. I've only had really great experiences. That lot just has a great energy vibe to me. Yeah,
How about
Universal.
Oh man, the Muppets, that studio. I just forgot his name.
Jim Henson.
Jim Henson.
The Jim Henson Studios. I hear they're supposed to be haunted too.
Really? I spent a couple of days in there and working on Frost Nixon, but didn't. Well, then again, there's so much stuff going on. A lot of times you miss it.
Right.
Yeah, because I think one of the paranormal reality shows did an episode there. I'm going to just throw my hat in and say it was Ghost Hunters, and they said they caught things doing their investigation there.
Cool.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
So where have you been where you catch your EVPs at?
I have some friends who, this lady team, Lisa Houston and Margaret Downey. They have their website's evpsessions.com, and they have different boxes and different kinds of things that they've used, to speak through. I've even here at my house had EVP parties, with them here where I have like maybe 10 to 15 people come over and we do EVPs and people's family members come through and say things. We tried doing something by bringing in ships, like UFO ships or ships from other worlds. And what ends up coming through the EVP are really unique noises instead of voices.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost like they're computer sounds, but but a high frequency computer sound, not like our computer sound.
Right.
But it was just fascinating, really fascinating.
I should have had you send me some of those ahead of time. We would have tried to play some tonight.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that.
Oh, that would have been great.
So I guess that means I'll have to have you back on.
Yes. I'll get them all for you. Yeah, they were really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, that sounds real interesting, too.
Yeah, well, I just thought, I said to them, well, look, if we're getting spirit voices, this is still a channel for people who could be on a ship or somebody who could, that you could talk to.
Right.
And we've actually got some voices from hooking up to ships, coming through and, saying various things, quick little blips or that kind of stuff. But then, you get all these little computerized voices, which is kind of interesting. Not computerized voices, computerized noises.
Right.
Craig, have you ever heard of author John Keel?
No.
He wrote a number of interesting books, one of which was called Our Haunted Planet, and there was some hikers in the middle of absolutely nowhere, way north Canada, and they were camping, and they started hearing this weird sound from a distance. They couldn't place it, and it sounded like it was coming from beneath them, like major heavy machinery, and they were recording it, and later on when they were playing it back, all of a sudden the sound just cuts out and you heard this very almost robotic voice saying, "Stay out, we don't want," and it faded.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Oh, my God. Wow. I will tell you, too, many years ago, I went with a friend to Sedona, and I love going there because I love to go hang out on the vortexes and get charged up. But there supposedly are underground bases and things there, and there's one supposedly in the back where Boynton Canyon is.
At Sedona?
In Sedona, yeah.
I spent a weekend in Sedona. It's beautiful. I never even heard of underground bases.
Oh, there's a whole.
Is it under that little airport, or?
No, it's way in the back in Boynton Canyon, supposedly. That's what I've heard. But anyway, we were driving, and we decided to get up at 3 in the morning and go driving just to see if we can see anything, you know. And we drove in the back in Boynton Canyon just to see if we'd see any craft or anything like that. And when we got to a certain point, as we were going down the road, this blue beam hit us. And at the same time, this blue beam said to both of us inside of our heads, "Don't go any further or your life will be changed forever."
Wow.
Wow.
That may not have been a threat.
I looked at my friend, and she looked at me, and I said, "That's good enough for me. Let's go back to the hotel." I don't need to be no hero.
It is time to turn around.
You know, and we did.
Wow.
Now, the thing is, realizing that may not have been a warning, because it was actually pointing out if your lives would be changed, it doesn't necessarily mean ended.
Well, would be changed forever, but the feeling that came along with it was not good. You know, it's like the same thing when you have a paranormal experience. You either feel it as good or you feel it as negative. So that had a negative connotation to it.
Like a bad vibe, yeah.
A bad vibe,
Yes,
absolutely,
sir. Yeah.
absolutely. You know, so yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Wow.
That was many years ago. I think it was like in the early '90s or something. So
all I can think is Bigfoot's gotten really technological now, kids. He's sending out these beams.
I wish they would finally get a picture of Bigfoot. Can I tell you? And the Bigfoot there's even Bigfoot stories there in Sedona. Somebody was telling me a story that they used to work on this ranch that was way back in Sedona, or just outside of Sedona. And that there they had a lot of mares, and they were always pregnant and that kind of thing, and that the woman who owned the ranch used to put food out for the Sasquatches, because there was an all-white one that she used to see who had a baby, and she would put the food out for them at night. And she saw them she saw her and her child all the time, but that this Bigfoot also helped protect her mares at night.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, which is sort of like this symbiotic thing, which I thought was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, you start feeding Sasquatch, and then they're never going to leave. They're
never going to leave. No, exactly.
Just hang out with the feral cats and everything.
Well, and then, of course, my next question was, well, did she get pictures? Where's the pictures?
Right. Where's the pictures?
But it was just somebody who I was randomly speaking to, somewhere, and don't even know who they are. But anyway, there's just so many of those, great stories. But somebody somewhere has to have a picture. Somebody has to.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But then it's the same thing with UFOs. How many of those pictures that you've seen is real or faked? And so there you go. You have a problem saying, "Oh no, it's real," and everybody else is saying, "No, it's fake." So.
Well, now with our special effects technology, the dissemination of what's real and what's not real can't be proved unless you're actually seeing it with your own eyes.
Right, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's way too easy now to make a 3D model and animate it.
Yeah.
And animate it and, do all that kind of stuff. But there are some things, that you look at and you see, online, and you just, again, you have a feeling like, yeah, that feels real. No, that doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
All these different kinds of things. So there's just so much out there. It's just fascinating.
Oh, there is.
Listening to all this stuff,
Well, now, have you gone on investigations?
I've only done sort of like my own. I haven't really gone on investigations. I've gone places where, a place was haunted or this or that. But You see, that just reminded me. I was doing another film, and we were at the Ambassador Hotel.
Yes. I had that one wrote down, too.
That place was haunted beyond belief, let's tell you.
I had my own experience there, so yeah, I'm with you on that.
Oh, my God. And I'm not kidding, but it was like, I think we were on the 4th floor. I don't know. And they took me to where Bobby Kennedy was shot, and, so I was there, and feeling that day, that when it happened, but I could feel all those ghosts in that place, and they were stuck there. They were just stuck. They couldn't get out, and I remembered, just talking to them. I remembered like feeling them and talking to them and saying, why don't you guys just go into the light? Why don't you go home instead of staying here? And I don't think that they even understood that concept, but I'm not sure. But I remember many years ago, like those feelings were like running through me. It's almost like you're having this telepathic conversation and not knowing why, Yeah. And the other hotel that's haunted that we did the Godson at is, it's right across the street from MacArthur Park.
Oh, I've been
You know which
there.
one, Jeffrey. They do lots of filming there.
Yeah, you see it all the time. I'm like, I know where that is.
Yeah. Anyway, we did the Godson there with Rodney Dangerfield and Dom DeLuise, and that place was haunted as well. You could just feel them. Although there wasn't anything that happened, I think things fell and weird little things like that. But when you're there, you could just feel them. And sometimes you could almost get impressions in your head of what they look like, or feel something moving, or all the hair on your body stands on end when you're walking through a room.
Do you think that they were laughing at Rodney and Dom?
I certainly hope so, because those two made me laugh. Oh my God. I was so lucky. I got to do about five projects with Dom DeLuise over the years. I just love that man. God, he was funny. He just kept you in stitches.
Oh, yeah. You could tell that. Him and Rodney.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take another break. Give everybody a chance to do whatever they got to do and get something to drink or whatever. We will, I guess it's Jeff's turn, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, well, I'll let you do that. How's that sound?
That sounds good. Well, you're all listening to the Paranormal View on para-x.com with hosts Henry Foister, Cat Cloco, and myself, and myself, Jeffrey Gould, with more experience from tonight's guest, Hollywood casting director and author Craig Campobasso. So to avoid hearing that dreaded, oh, thank you, next, stay tuned after this musical interlude.
Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Para-X part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the Para-X Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. All those from around the world, come on over here to para-x.com. Join in the chat and have a great time with all these wonderful people. I want to welcome back Craig with us, and he's got a couple more paranormal experiences before we talk some about his book. I know you had one where you said that you had a birthday party.
Birthday party.
Yeah, the orbs at a birthday party or something like that.
Oh, the orb pictures. Yes. Well, the orb pictures were what I was talking about before. They're these giant orbs. It was the year that my mother had passed away, and I had gone to Lake Shrine just to go through the meditation gardens and spend some time and just some quiet time because it's so peaceful there. And that's down by, Gladstone's at the end of PCH and Sunset Boulevard. So afterwards, I went with a friend, and we had some lunch at Gladstone's, and then just took some pictures of me on the beach. And in the pictures, there were some giant orbs, and these have different patterns in them, like I was saying. And then later on that year, I went to Sedona, Arizona. Like I said, it's my favorite place to go relax. And when I was on Bell Rock, more of these giant orbs appeared, and one of the orbs is actually bumped up against my body and molded to the side of my body, and out of the whiteness of the orb is a string coming out and actually connecting into my arm, which I just thought was fascinating. And then there were several other pictures where the orb was gigantic. And I mean, we're talking bright white light. It's not like you go, oh, well, that's a little orb. These are like Glinda the Good Witch giant orbs.
Right.
And really, really fascinating. And so there was those pictures, but my birthday, that's the one that was taken in the early 90s with a major spirit. When you see pictures and you see streaks of spirit going through it, this one's going from the very top of the picture. I'm sitting on a couch, and it's going all the way down, and you see all of the designs of the streak and everything going through this white light. Goes all the way down, and then it curves around my knee, and you see where the light actually amplifies in that area, and then it goes all the way back up. And it just fills the entire frame. The light is so intense that you don't even see most of my body or my facial features.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Might
it's
it have been
really
a-
fantastic.
Could it have been an aura photo?
No, it's not an aura photo. I've had those taken before.
It's like
But
an
that's
orb
done with-
streak. Orb in
this
motion.
is-
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I don't even think it was an orb streak. I mean, I think it was more of spirits are orbs, but it was really more like a spirit streak, is I think would be more of the right definition. And every once in a while, I would feel that same kind of energy like swirl around me, like it was giving me this great energy or something. I can remember that on a couple of occasions throughout my life. But that one was taken in the early 90s. The giant orbs were taken in 98. And then the one on the Pizza with Bullets set was taken about 3 or 4 years ago in the movie with Talia Shire. So, those were fantastic. And then one other really quick story. When I was casting Picket Fences, I was nominated for an Emmy for the show. And one of my friends was a fellow casting director by the name of Elizabeth Lustig. She was a casting director who, when we were doing Dune, she worked with Jane Jenkins and Jana Hershenson. But she's the one who discovered Kyle MacLachlan. She was later casting The Saints with Val Kilmer in Russia, and was hit by a car and was killed.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yes, and it was just devastating to the whole community. But interestingly enough, like I told you, I always had these visitations from spirit and all of that. And after I was nominated, I woke up and I opened my eyes, and there she was floating in my bedroom just from her shoulders on up, just smiling. And she said, "Congratulations." And then just faded away. And I just thought, that was pretty cool. That was really, really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really awesome. So.
But so what was she congratulating you? The
on
win?
being nominated for an Emmy. Yeah. Because I had just been nominated. So, because it's a big deal because, the casting directors have fought for so many years, to be considered for Emmys and are still on the fight for Academy Awards. So Can you believe that they will still give somebody an Academy Award for doing an actor's hair, but not for the casting director who put the actors in the film?
Yeah,
Wow.
seriously.
So,
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Pretty amazing. So, so we're sort of like the bastardized children, casting directors. So,
Oh,
you
well,
know,
so-
and in movies way back when, casting directors never got credit, especially in television. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz were the first ones to give their casting directors credit. Even on I Love Lucy, Kerwin Lachlan, they made sure that Kerwin had credit on all those episodes.
Nice.
And another interesting fact before we get to the book that I just think is the coolest piece of information is that it was Lucille Ball, who was the head of Desilu Studios at the time, who greenlit Star Trek.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
That
Isn't
is
that
neat.
the most? Yeah. If it wasn't for Lucy, who knows where Star Trek would be? So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
and
yeah,
she also-
we all remember the end of the first season was Desilu Productions.
Yep. And she also greenlit Mission Impossible.
Yep.
And The Untouchables. So.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
Lucy, I know. Isn't that great? Don't you love Lucy more now?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, she was she was one of the biggest major female moguls out here, pretty much.
Yeah, no, she's just terrific. I actually hired her granddaughter, Lucy Arnaz's daughter, in a film that I went to Miami to cast several years ago. So that was really nice.
Now, Nyla in the chat room had a question. She was curious as to whether or not you had any visual ghost experiences with any Hollywood actors. Because I didn't think the Burbank guy counted.
No, God, no. I'm just trying to think. I had the one with Rita Hayworth, but I didn't see her.
Right, I
It was
pointed
more.
out
That was more of a, more of that kind of thing. Once in a while, if there were some actors that I knew that had passed, I would feel their energy, but I never physically saw them, as an apparition or anything like that. But nothing's coming to mind.
Well, I want to let everybody know about our listeners. Tonight we have listeners from the U.S., Ireland, and Indonesia. And
Nice.
I want to welcome them for listening from around the world. Appreciate it. So glad to have you and hope you come back again.
Wow.
There's
Nobody
one-
from Canada or the UK?
No,
or
no
other?
Canada.
Or the other?
No, didn't have any of those for some reason.
Well,
So-
Jeffrey, what'd you do?
Yeah,
I know. I've been promoting this tonight, right? I actually have one of my longtime friends in the chat room, Karen, with an E, who is in there. She said, "Yes, we're gonna have a big family night and listen to their show."
Oh, great.
Nice. Well,
Now-
I'm glad you're there, Karen.
I got one more before we go to your book, and I can't remember if you'd mentioned anything about it. The Miami Hotel.
Oh, the Miami Hotel. Yes. I actually, when I was doing a film down there, the very film that that I hired Lucille Ball's granddaughter in, I was staying in an old hotel, which primarily, it was just off of the beaten path of where all the big hotels are on, South Beach right there. It's just a little off. But it's where models and photographers pretty much stay, and I forget the name of the hotel. Very old but very cool hotel. And when I was staying in my room at night, I kept feeling a little boy running around in the room, running around. It wasn't scary or anything like that. But then I started having these visions of a old Cuban man in those old sort of shirts, that they wore, and it was bright yellow, and he had, nice gray beard and hair. And he just kept coming to me, and finally I had a lull in casting, and I was talking to the writer, director, and the producer, and this was about the writer director. It was his story. It was his own personal story of his descent into drugs and how he tried to kill himself. He even drank Clorox to kill himself. Yeah. And I said, and that didn't kill you? And he said, no. But you know, it was his
But
descent
it made his
out
teeth
of
really white.
yeah. But interestingly enough, when I told him what was happening, and I kept saying I was having visions of this man, and he just went white as a ghost, and it was his grandfather. And he said his grandfather always wore those yellow shirts all the time. And I said, well, he said that he was one of the catalysts that helped get him, out of this dark abyss. And, he's been living a happily beautiful life and just had a baby a little while ago and all of that. But, I just thought that was also, kind of fascinating, because why do you guys know why they hang around? Why don't they just go into the light and go on to the next experience? Or do they just get caught?
That's our favorite topic. Wondering what the
Yeah.
heck.
We don't know.
Our guest last week says one of his most favorite parts of the paranormal is just trying to deduce why they're still here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, exactly. Wow.
Well, now,
Wow.
I guess we're going to be talking about your book, because I know Jeff and Kat has just been chomping at the bits, wanting to get onto the book. So,
Sure.
and what we'll do is toward the end of the show, we'll give you a chance to let everybody know where they can get the book at, where your websites are, and all the other good stuff.
Absolutely.
So, Jeff and Kat, I know you guys got tons of questions. So,
Shoot.
You go ahead first, Jeff.
Well, I was as we were discussing before the show. It's a fascinating read. I really enjoyed it. I get the impression, though, it could be more of a niche kind of a book, because there are some people who might find aspects of it that might be too much for their, pardon the expression, limited consciousness, as the way people tend to be. This is a very enlightened book. This is a very higher consciousness kind of aspect. Do you think that might be any not backlash, but might people say, wait a minute, what?
Well, it's interestingly enough, all of the responses I have gotten from people thus far, the main one is that they said that what it did for them is that it helped them open up their consciousness, because they had never thought about what was out there in the universe, or what could be out there in the universe. And all of these spiritual technologies and, a galactarian alignment of space peoples and planets that live in harmony, that practice love and peace and are not dualistic. They're whole. Their light and dark is merged. Was an absolutely fascinating, topic to them, as it was for me writing it. I myself, as I told you, have had a lot of these experiences from ethereal beings throughout my life, and I know that's a big part of why this book came about. But when I started writing this book, I had a gigantic spiritual awakening right after I finished Amazing Stories. I always say is when my amazing story began. And I ended up writing a book about all of my experiences. And the book was 400 pages long, and it took me a couple years to write. And I was so excited at the completion of it. And then one of my guides came to me and said, what would you say if we told you that you just wrote that book for yourself? And I went, what? You know? And
Crestfallen, that's what it'd be.
But then I thought about it, and I went, wow, I really learned a lot about myself. And I said, now it's time to sit down and write the real book. And then that's when I sat down and started to write, this book, which originally, as I told you, Jeffrey, was 900 pages, and then I cut it down to 200. So book 2 is already done, and then book 3 will come. And it's fully illustrated. I really wanted to bring it to life for people to see and get the actual vibration of the characters and the places and what the ships look like and the spiritual technologies and everything is alive and living. Even the ships are alive and living. They're not just made of metal, So it was, for me, it was a great concept. But again, just getting back to most of the people's comments, is that it did expand their awareness. And, I truly believe, that people who are supposed to read it will become attracted to it and purchase it and read it. It's sort of like, if you go back to that old analogy, I think it was in Shirley MacLaine's Out on a Limb when she's on the Bodhi tree and a book falls off a shelf,
Wow.
Now,
I kept thinking with the illustrations, I'm like, wow, he's even got his pre-production stuff done.
I know, see?
Yeah.
And book 2, there's already over 40 illustrations done.
Now, this actually started out as maybe a screenplay, I think you said, or you got a screenplay as well ready in case?
No, I just finished the rough draft of the screenplay to this book. And, and then I'm working on another book right now, which is about the Christ chakras, working with the Christ chakras, which is also information my guides have brought through. And then, so that'll be the next book. And then, in a while, book 2 to the autobiography of an extraterrestrial saga will, that will also, come out. So, but again, it is of higher consciousness. But again, people are going to get it on all different kinds of levels reading it. So
now, Jeff, they're wanting to know what the title of his book is.
It's the autobiography of an extraterrestrial. I am Tyron. Please don't be surprised that there's an H in Tyron.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody calls them Theron, Thyron, Tyrone.
So are they
thyroid?
Are they getting ready for the movie? And I guess you're going to be doing the casting for it.
Well, who knows? Who knows? It would be terrific to see it on the screen. I mean, it would be visuals and concepts and things that have not been seen at all on the screen yet. So I have already been approached by one company that I work with. Unbeknownst to me, they had gotten it and read it and went gaga for it. So
nice.
Which is really good. But, this is a $200 million movie, when it's all said and done.
Well, what if it was just done almost like CGI, almost like Avatar?
Well, it would be a completely, almost all CGI movie, absolutely. Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah, as I was reading it, I'm like, I can't picture, they would have to do it as CGI characters, because considering some of their looks and such, what kind of voice actors would you think would work with some of these characters?
Well, all of the characters would be actors. The only ones that would be CGI characters would be the 3 characters from the planet Marama. Mm-hmm. Which are Mother Moeva, Father Jacobova, and Galil. Those would be CGI characters, but everybody else would be actors.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So who?
Yeah.
I could not place from the illustrations who I would see as certain roles.
Well, Tehran. I mean, the perfect person to play Tehran would be Chris Hemsworth. who's Thor.
Thor, yeah.
But it's a little close to it. If Viggo Mortensen was 35 again, it would be Viggo. Charlize Theron would be Kyalina. Angelina Jolie could be Pendasala. Or, Brad Pitt could even play Tehran, even though he's a Titan. They do that. I mean, I just saw Snow White and The Huntsman, and, they used all regular height actors for the little people.
Oh, yeah. Well, he did that with the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So, exactly. With John Rhys Davies. That's right. So,
I couldn't help notice in the illustration of Archangel Gabriel, it looks like kind of a young Eric Roberts.
Yeah, everybody always says, this one looks like this one, and this one looks like that one. And, and I go, well, they're going to all look like somebody.
So Barbara's got a Kim Cattrall look going and everything.
Yeah, I love Kim Cattrall. I just love her. She's terrific. So... But, I think it would just be so fascinating to see it as a motion picture with all the different things going on, especially all the technologies and the way the worlds look and, all of that.
Now, I want to take a second here and remind everybody that tonight, right after the Paranormal View, Ghost Soldiers will be on. And so stay tuned for them. Come right on over and join in with them. I believe they're going to be playing all kinds of tunes. I don't know what their theme is tonight, but join in. They always have a great show. So, all right, back to the book.
All right. So, Kat, what do you have to ask me?
Well, I was just interested with Sylvia Browne writing the foreword, how she was involved in doing that.
Do you know, I'll tell you, it's real simple. When I actually was doing the film at Raleigh Studios, my casting partner and I really love her books. And I said, she's going to be talking at the Palladium. And I said, let's go see her. So we went, and, that place was packed. There was just thousands of people there. And she was absolutely hysterical. I didn't realize really how funny she was. She would present some wonderful spiritual information and then crack a joke and have everyone in stitches. And I actually wrote her a letter just telling her how much I enjoyed her show, etc. And she ended up, someone from her office called me to just thank me, for sending the letter, and I thought that was really sweet. And then about 40 minutes after that, I got a phone call from Sylvia herself, and I ended up talking to her for 45 minutes on the phone, and we sort of became friends. So when the book was happening, I asked her if she would read it, and she read it, and I asked her if she would write the foreword. And she had told me that she doesn't write forewords for anyone, and that she had only written one foreword, I think, in the very beginning of her career. She's written almost, I think, 65 books by now. But then she looked at me and she goes, but I love this book, and I am so happy to write the foreword.
No.
And so she is, to have somebody like her champion me, I can't tell you, was such a great gift. And she is just a sweetheart and a doll. So I'm one of the very lucky ones who was in the right place at the right time.
That's really interesting and cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So,
So, I was saying I really looking forward to seeing this on the big screen someday. This is going to be it's so different than anything one would read.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the few books that generally stories are about conflict, and here there's very little conflict, except some occasionally internal conflict. But generally speaking, there's no real antagonist per se.
No, I mean, the book is really about duality and understanding duality. So there's the universal duality between Archangel Michael and Lucifer, and then there's Tehran's own individualistic duality, where he is born into a realm of pure divine consciousness, but he's an anomaly. He's born dualistic, like everyone here on planet Earth is dualistic. It's actually learning how to merge the heart with the mind so that you become awake and you start working from your illumination, from your own God consciousness, and becoming awake to everything in the universe, and within your own self, and then just connecting outwards to expand. And so, that's really, I think, sort of, the line. But then it's a love story, and it's kind of science fiction-y, and it's really nothing that you can kind of pinpoint it to be. It's just different, And I think that's what I like about it. People can actually, if they also go on Amazon, a lot of people have written, a lot of things of what they've thought about the book on there.
Yeah, I was looking at some of those that you was giving kudos to, and one of them is Preston Dennett.
Yes, Preston. I love Preston. He did a thing on the back of the book as well.
We had him on our show. You also had Tracy Austin on.
Yes, and just so you know, Christine Dennett, who did my artwork, is Preston's sister-in-law.
Really? Huh.
Isn't that interesting? Because I met Christy, and we started working together, and then I met Preston through Christy.
Right. He was great.
He's terrific. He's a great guy.
We was talking with him about UFOs and stuff. So.
Oh yeah. It
was really great.
Yeah. Really fantastic. So, but there's the whole book has a terminology in the back about the whole extraterrestrial world. So if you're reading through the book and you stumble upon something you may not know what it means, you can reference it in the back, or if you kind of know what it means, you can still reference it in the back to get a bigger scope of the bigger picture of its meaning, in the book. And, of course, if you want to know how to say any of those extraterrestrial names, there's also a pronunciation guide in the back as well.
Well, now, that's kind of similar to J.R.R. Tolkien with Middle Earth.
Yeah,
he had his map and told you where everything was at.
Right. Well, it's not that complicated, and it's not as complicated as Dune as well. But but it gives you a little, just a little more into what it could possibly be out there in the great big universe. So, really 2012, at the end of the year, it's actually about the Earth joining universal society. That's what this is all about. It's all about all the planets lining up, and we get to now become a part of the universal society. And a lot of people have never really thunk about that. Most planets were created for the beings to live on the inside so that they are protected from outside elements.
Never thought of that.
That's for a thought.
So I wonder how
things
many...
that make you go,
So how many is actually living underground right now?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I've heard stories of UFOs. Aliens got bases under the ground and under the sea and everything else.
Wait, isn't there a Doctor Who episode about this?
The Silurians?
I'm sure there
Yes.
is.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, if you watch any kind of science fiction or any of the TV shows, they actually comb the internet and they actually take all of the stuff right from what people are discovering and talking about and put them right into the episodes or movies.
Really?
Oh, I can believe that.
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
They do that with, like, Slender Man.
Yeah.
So I've seen him crop up on all of these supernatural horror shows. I'm like, hey, it's Slender Man. I know him.
Did you say Slender Man as in not Fat Man?
Not Fat Man, Slender Man.
I don't. Now I have to go look that up. I don't know.
Oh, he's a wonderful internet urban legend. And he was created a few years ago in the Something Awful forums. And he's kind of, only in the past year, he's taken off, and you see him in all sorts of media. Like, the Silence from Doctor Who is based off of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the biggest one, but you find them in different things.
They also had silent, tall creatures that were very similar on Buffy.
Yeah.
In the episode Hush. Yeah, so that... suddenly I'm like, wait a minute, was Steve actually lifting that from?
Probably. From 4chan, we know them as Anonymous through the news, that huge internet forum.
Right.
Yeah, their /x/ forums have created a lot of internet urban legends. They're known as creepypasta. So,
oh my God.
Creepypasta.
Well,
I want to try that sauce.
Yeah. So shall I give the website for the book?
I was just getting ready to let you give all your information like that. And
beautiful. So the website, you can look at the book trailer there as well. Read the foreword by Sylvia Brand. You can look at some of the merchandising if you like the artwork and get on T-shirts and all kinds of stuff. So the book's website is just autobiography of unenet.com. So autobiography of unenet.com. And the book is also on, Kindle and Nook and iTunes and all of that. And if anybody wants to check out my regular website for casting, it's just CraigCampobasso.com, which is CraigCampob, A S as in Sam, S as in Sam, O as in ostrich.com.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
And we want to thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. And we want you to stay on until after we're off tonight, and we'll talk with you for a few minutes.
If
you've got
Thank
time.
you guys so much for having me on. I so enjoyed it.
Well, you've been a great guest, and we thank you. And Jeff, you've got enough time now to give all of our other information there.
Absolutely. Well, my own website is jeffgould.net, GEOFFGOULD.net, and Craig certainly needs to go through all of that. A lot of it is about my acting, but if you put in /2011PNV.htm, that is my Paranormal View hub page where you can go to each of our shows' specific editions. Like this will have its own page, which will have links to all of Craig's sites, certainly his book, which you must read, buy it, and such like that. And as I say, all the links to our page, such as theparanormalview.com, our link to Facebook, which takes too long to say over the radio. So if you just go to Facebook, write The Paranormal View, there we are. I'm also at Facebook, as is Kat and Henry. We're easy to find. You can find us through our Paranormal View on Facebook and such. And if you want your own Paranormal View attire, and who doesn't, just go to cafepress.com/realbadgershop. Also, the links to Craig's book will also be on my store page within my site. So if you go to my site, and up on top, store books, fiction, look up Craig. There you go. Hooray.
All right. And you can also go to theparanormalview.com. You'll be able to listen also to our podcast from there. And all the links to Jeff. And Kat, I know you've got some links too.
Yep. Right now I have www.huntforghosts.com. I just posted all of our websites in the chat room so our listeners can go see them immediately. And I update my website at least once a week with what our guest is going to be, along with urban legends and all the different field work that I'm currently doing, investigating them, such as creepypasta.
All right. Great.
Not to be confused with crunchy pasta.
Nope.
And by the way, the first 5 people that buy a book get a ride in a spaceship.
Oh, there you go. All right.
That makes me number 1.
Right.
Next week, we are going to be the Paranormal View hosts. We're going to be doing just a round table with the hosts, and we'll also have CC with us. So join in next week, same time, 8 o'clock. And till then, we got to run out of here. Stay tuned for Ghost Soldiers. And this is Henry Foister.
Jeffrey Gould.
And Cat Cloco.
So until next week, we'll see you later. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
We're gone. Paranormal View. Come back and visit us again if you dare. You've been listening to the Paranormal View on the Para-X Radio Network. The Paranormal View.